So you don't read Runway?
No.
And before today, you had never heard of me?
No.
And you have no style or sense of fashion?
Well, I think that depends on what you're...
No. That wasn't a question.
Hello, and welcome to another episode of Hollywood Gold. I'm Daniela Taplin-Lundberg, your host, and I'm here with Rebecca Camarada, my right-hand woman. How are you, Bex?
I'm great. How are you, Daniela?
Good. I'm so excited to launch into today's episode. We're about to do a deep dive into The Devil Wears Prada, which is a movie that I didn't really have to rewatch because I've watch it maybe 2 to 3 times a year just for fun with the kids. But I did rewatch it yesterday, and man, Meryl Streep just nails it.
Oh my gosh.
Anne Hathaway,
brilliant.
So good. Emily Blunt, the unsung hero of that film.
Yes.
Such a
her
fun
performance
ride.
is wonderful.
Oh, she's like a comic genius. I mean, I cannot say enough about Emily Blunt, or all of them. So we're about to talk to Wendy Finerman, who we've assessed is the Meryl Streep of producers. Elegant, timeless, brilliant, beautiful, all the things. She's produced so many great films. Forrest Gump and Stepmom, and now Devil Wears Prada, which is what we're going to focus on. So let's get going and hear how this really successful book came to the big screen.
Let's go.
The great Wendy Finerman, how are you? It's such an honor to meet you. I'm such a fan of you and your work.
Thank you very much. It's nice to meet you as well.
Today, we're going to focus on one of the all-time great comedies, The Devil Wears Prada. Wendy, talk to me about where it all began. Did you read the book? How did the whole thing begin from your perspective?
I read the galley of the book proposal for The Devil Wears Prada. Lauren Weisberger had written, and it was about 100 pages. It was a proposal, and I was intrigued by the world that it was.
And did she have the title already?
I believe the title was there already. Yes.
Such a good hook. I mean, it's so brilliant.
Yes, but it wasn't. The movie is also what she had written at that point. It was really from the point of view of Andy, which we have, even though everyone associates it with the devil. So the book proposal was about this young girl's getting her first job in the world of fashion magazine with the world's worst boss.
By the way, Wendy, my sister also was Anna's assistant for several years.
Who's your sister?
Silvana Durrett. She ran the Met Ball for 8 years, but Anna really liked her and really helped her and, helped her eventually in her career. But I will tell you that we had a lot of personal experience. And by the way, she was her assistant when the book came out. But keep going.
So read the book proposal and instantly said, this is a movie. Actually, and Drew Reed gets a lot of credit for it. He worked with me at the time, and studio picked it up, and we were off to the races.
Okay.
Well, off to the races, but we had a lot of drafts and a lot of people working on it for a long time.
Yeah, I had read that there were an incredible writers. You had a sort of plethora of great writers take a stab at it. Tell me what that journey was.
Well, Peter Hedges was on board first, and he had just come off of Pieces of April. We took a whole bunch of stabs at it with him, and ultimately, at the end of the day, he decided that he couldn't get it where he thought it could be. Mm-hmm. And then we went through a lot of other people, but really the key to it was getting Aileen Brosh McKenna to do a draft and to do the work on a rewrite. She was really the person who got it where it needed to be and got it across the finish line.
And how did you come upon her?
It was a joint thing. David Frankel had come aboard. I had known David for years. We were friendly, and I'd always been a big fan of his. And we approached David to come aboard as a director and help supervise the next draft. And David had done movies that I really had enjoyed, and he also really kind of did all of the really smartest of the Sex and the Cities.
Yeah.
And Entourage, he did the pilot for Entourage. So, he really had a wonderful contemporary style to him that was unique and fresh. and fun. And I'm trying to remember if we all knew of Aileen's writing and was familiar with it. And I remember she came over. It was, she had a cold or something. We came over and she met at my house in LA, David and she and myself. And I don't remember where I think it was 27 dresses. I think that might have been what she had done beforehand that we read as a sample. I don't remember exactly that, but she was really smart and really witty and really bright. And she made it really great.
So she kind of started from scratch, made it her own with sort of David overseeing, or what was sort of the...
Well, remember when you're doing a book adaptation, you always have the book to start from.
Sure.
So even though other people may have done other adaptations beforehand, you kind of always really go back to the book, and you might take little pieces from what everybody has, but script adaptations are very different than originals. But
like she wasn't going from Peter Hedges' draft.
She was starting from her own, but I think everybody takes a little bit of here and there. There's always a line or something. But that's why she got the credit she got, because she deserved the entire credit. But the other thing is, I will tell you that we really included Lauren. I really am a firm believer of including the authors, whether it be fiction or nonfiction, as much as you can. It was dreamed in her brain first. There's little things that she knew.
And so Lauren was sort of weighing in on drafts or just giving feedback?
Or information or background, but not as much. I don't hide the drafts from the authors, but you kind of wait for key periods of time to show it to them if you need some help or you want some guidance or you want to hear what they're happy with it. But you don't do it with every draft. No, you got to pick your shoes.
A lot of times when I feel like Hollywood takes on these very unique industries, whether it's fashion or politics, or, you can immediately sense whether they feel authentic or they feel completely off the mark. And I would say the beauty of your movie was that it really, having walked through Vogue, that really felt like Vogue and it really felt like Anna's office. Were you nervous at all about taking on the top? I remember when the book came out, everyone knew who it was about. It was very thinly veiled. And I just remember there being a ton of page 6 pieces and a lot of press about it and Anna being upset about it. And was that something that ever deterred you from pursuing it? Or did you know that you would sort of handle the tone so appropriately that it would be fine in the end? I just feel like that's a decision point, right?
I mean, it was a Roman clef, and we were never, we never meant to be intentionally mean. I don't think we were.
100%. I mean, I think she was so renowned amongst a certain set, right? But you made her internationally famous. Mm-hmm. And mm-hmm. Also the movie was so good and was ultimately sort of a joyous tale. And you just handled the tone so perfectly.
Well, it's true. I mean, that happened to me many times. I have been, some of the things that we say and do as women were criticized for, but if we were men, it wouldn't be a big deal.
Sure. That's right. Okay, so you get a script. David's happy with it. You're happy with it. What next?
The studio has to be happy with it too. We get a budget. We go to actors, and we got different actors. And people did say to me, somebody there said to me, they wondered, could David Franco ever cast this movie? And I was like, I think he could, Anne we knew is a good every girl. She really is. She went to Vassar. She's a real all-American girl.
Yeah.
And Meryl, people thought we were crazy. I mean, I had people call me up and say, "Are you out of your mind? She's never been funny a day in her life." And I said, and I think it was, she has been funny, and they were wrong. But this was clearly a different kind of role for her.
Yes.
And I think that was part of the fun of the unexpected, of seeing her. Seeing her amidst in outfits and
well, I loved the sort of comic turns that Meryl would take, and maybe people don't remember them as well, but you remember that movie She Devil and Death Becomes Her and all these.
Death Becomes Her. Her and Goldie are so great in that movie.
Oh my God!
I mean, Zemeckis is he's one of his best.
Totally. And so to me, it felt, but you're right. It's like, I think you think of Meryl and you think of like the most dramatic actress in existence, but she is so, I mean, she can really just do anything. And so you just reminded us of that. And so when she came on, it feels like, just in my research, it felt like everyone then was like, oh, this is going to be great. Like she brings such sort of weight to anything she does.
It was great. We went to her house to meet her, and I carry kind of some old school, usually like with 3-ring binders of things that I can just kind of share. And she said, "Oh, can I have that?" I said, "Sure."
And Wendy, what was in the binder? Like your script?
Everything. No, it's articles, or they may be ideas of where I want to shoot, or ideas, little stories, or anecdotes of people, or maybe a scene in Paris.
Ooh, love that.
It's just it's my creative kind of Bible.
Yeah, I love that.
I do for all projects. Like I have, different piles of things, and or the look of it may be, or an article about, fashion designer. And Monday morning she calls me and says, "What else do you have?" Like, read the whole thing. I mean, she is just she's amazing.
It's sort of comical how you think that you've made a choice that exempts you from the fashion industry when in fact you're wearing a sweater that was selected for you by the people in this room from a pile of stuff. I thought you would be different. I said to myself, go ahead. Take a chance. Hire the smart fat girl.
So Meryl is just voracious in her research. Once she commits, she's just all in, and that's why she's as good as she is. But I also loved all the other casting you did. Like you cast Emily Blunt in that supporting role.
Emily Blunt came into the office and I literally called up David. I said, "We have Emily."
Oh.
But I give a lot of that credit to Ellen Lewis, who I worked with a lot. Ellen cast Forrest Gump. She cast Stepmom. She cast The Fan with me. She's the best. She just casts killers. I was lucky. She basically worked back to back for Mike Nichols, Scorsese, and luckily I'd get her, a little bit in between once in a while. Ellen Lewis is brilliant.
A legend in casting.
When you work with somebody over and over and over again, you have a confidence and a shorthand.
The Stanley Tucci role, I heard that was very, very last minute. He's also so brilliant.
Really last minute. But Ellen she went in her Chicago Wendy. It'll work.
Yeah. No, but it all feels so natural. And everyone felt like they did their homework. Like they showed up. We just did an episode about A Beautiful Mind, and we interviewed Akiva Goldsman. His big comment was like, everyone showed up. Everyone was at the top of their game.
Mm-hmm.
So Ron Howard, Russell Crowe, Akiva, like everyone was there to like do their very best work. And sometimes when that happens, the movie just like the entire thing elevates. And I feel that way about your film, that it was just everyone was so sharp and funny and on.
We took some gambles too, we gave the production designer, his really first, he come from Coen Brothers, but, and even unfortunately, God rest his soul, we had Mark, our editor, who was a big thing for him.
Halsey, so good. Such a talent.
Florian was a great talent too. Florian was just fantastic. Everybody was. I saw Florian the other day.
Oh, it's Florian Bauhaus, right? The DP. Amazing. Just like top tier talent. Do you feel like in your movies that you are often just working with the same people over and over again? Or are you looking for sort of like the new hungry up and comers?
Well, Devil Wears Prada was a lot of the new young up and comers. A lot of them. A lot of that comes from if you have a really good line producer, which we did with Joe,
Yes.
And the trust of, I always find it's really great to give people opportunity, because when you give somebody a chance at something that they may not have had before, they usually will bring their best game.
Yes.
In that way, I love to give people opportunities to kind of step up. But on the other hand, there are certain people that I absolutely love. Nikki Lederman, the makeup person, and I will work with her again and again and again as much as I can, she covers it. Everything looks good. She runs the department. It's great. I don't have to worry. I mean, I
Right.
keep an eye on it, but I trust her. And I trust that there's not going to be any drama there. There can always be drama in the hair and makeup trailer. And you don't want drama in the hair and makeup trailer because that's where your day begins.
Right.
So she always has it organized and covered, and she can get along with everyone. And, I also just try to be pleasant and be there for people. And so you can kind of give them a hand and be there to help. And I think that if you do that, they're eager to give you, 200%.
So you're predominantly shooting in New York interiors as well? Like, is the whole thing shooting in New York?
Except for just a couple days in Paris, it was great. And I had an assistant on the movie who was really like a young, bright girl. And somehow we were shooting Meryl's double in Paris, like with a wig. But the outfit somehow didn't make it in the wardrobe shipment. The hero outfit.
No.
We said to my assistant, who lived downtown, we were shooting downtown in Soho the day before. She said, how far is your apartment from here? Okay, go get your passport. What do you mean? Go get your passport. Go pack your bag. You're going to Paris. Because
you said that to your assistant.
Yes, go pack your bag. You're going to Paris. And she got to fly business class because we couldn't risk, if she flew coach, we couldn't risk her bag. They could take your bags and check them. They won't do that. So she got to go to Paris.
It was life imitating art. She was literally having her Andy moment. That's so crazy.
She would call herself, it was really sweet. She would say, I feel like a troll at times because she was not a tall, a small little girl. But she literally, go get your passport. You're leaving for Paris.
So she hand delivered the outfit. Amazing. That's just so Hollywood. I love that story. And so, I guess it's little known, but I read that only Annie and who was the actor? Anyway, they were the only two actors actually in Paris, right? Because those were all the exteriors.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah, right. And then, Meryl deceptively was in Paris, but actually it was just those were all interiors that were shot in New York.
That was the New York Historical Museum where she's turning around.
Ooh, great sleight of hand. Great sleight of hand.
The other thing is too, I've worked with Valentino before.
Ooh.
So I've worked with him many years before. So that whole thing that we recreated, that was really a lot of fun. And Giancarlo and,
yes. So you got all these amazing cameos that sort of lent legitimacy to the film.
Yeah, I had a cousin who worked for Heidi Klum.
Yes.
So she got to come with Heidi Klum.
Yes. Yes.
So we had
Giselle in there. You had Giselle in there.
We had Giselle. We had Matt, the director of the Valentino movie was in there too. So, and some of these were favors I called in. Another one was a friend's house that we lost. That was the infamous house that Red just sold. We lost our location, and I had a friend who I knew their house had been shot for Architectural Digest the week before, and I called them up and said, this is going to sound crazy, but can I come see your house? I'll pay you exactly what, I'm not screwing with you. We'll let 12 people in there. The house was 12 people were only allowed in while we shot. I pulled the plug at 12 o'clock because I said we'd be done, and hopefully I got a little more money for their house.
Wendy, that's great producing. Everyone always tries to ask, what is producing? And I'm like, when your location falls through and then you're the only one who can find an alternative and beg a friend and they let you in and then you make your day. That's the best producing.
And then I said, yeah, that's what happened. And then I said, okay, I'll be back in a minute. The other wonderful advice I'll give you for producing is something that Gary Sinise taught me. And we did use it and that's why we went and I brought Meryl back to see the house, is you always let the characters see their home or their office or a primary location before they walk on the set the first time, because you want them to feel that they're at home. And if that may be, they're going to move a book where they want to put a little picture frame of something, or a pencil where it would be.
Yes.
Because then they walk in and they just walk into the scene and it goes. And it's something that Gary taught me that I learned, and I always do that. So we showed Meryl the house because we wanted to say, "Are you feel comfortable in this house?" Because if you don't feel comfortable, I don't want you walking in and telling me that you're not comfortable, because it's not going to work.
Okay, so you're getting through the shoot, you're handling things as great producers do. Things fall through, you make it work. Is the studio happy with what they're seeing? Like, are they like, oh, we see a big hit here? Are they nervous?
I don't think anybody quite, the title, let's face it, had a lot of recognition.
Yeah.
And it was very anticipated. But the real legs of it go to the quality, I think, that everybody was able to lift it to,
Yeah.
Because it rose to the occasion. And, one of the things I find that with books is you want everybody to say, no discredit to the author. You want everyone to say, I really enjoyed the book, but the movie was better.
I would say that like The Godfather is probably the greatest example of that, where, I never read the book. I assumed that the book, growing up in LA, I assumed the book was as great.
Where'd you grow up?
I grew up in LA. My dad was a film producer.
What's your dad's name?
His name's John Taplin.
Oh, yes. Tall, very
blonde,
tall.
beard.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Who was he partners with?
Many people along the way, but he most famously sort of launched Scorsese with Mean Streets and then did The Last Waltz and was like a road manager for the band and Dylan. But my dad finally had to be like, no, The Godfather was a piece of pulp, and Coppola elevated it to something like much, much greater. And I would say, Lauren's books are so great, but I felt like this film was such an amazing manifestation of it.
Do you know what really just kills me about this whole thing? It's the clothes that you're gonna get. I mean, you don't deserve them. You eat carbs, for Christ's sake. God, so unfair.
By all means, move at a glacial pace. You know how that thrills me.
I always love asking producers about working with filmmakers and actors, because filmmakers don't get to see other filmmakers at work, right? And so what was David Frankel's special sauce, if you had to identify it?
David's really, David and I had been friends beforehand. And I'm friends with David's father. Like, I text his dad, who's one of the most amazing people. I don't know if you know who his father is, Max Frankel, who ran the New York Times for 20 years.
Of course. Oh my God. I don't think I had ever made that connection.
He's a family friend. And I've known David, and David and I, because David and I, we work nicely together. He actually, I think, enjoys my craziness. And I trust him on his vision at times, and where other people may not.
Yeah.
And I believe my job is to give whoever the filmmaker is all the tools that he or she needs, and not stand next to them, but stand behind them and give them those tools. And then if I see something that's of concern, then to raise my hand. And I think it's a really respectful way.
Did you feel that he was particularly good with actors, with movement of camera, with the look of it, like he did his homework? I
think he's smart. David's a really smart guy, He's a really smart guy, and he also is not, he wears the same outfit basically every day, which is like some kind of, Nike or Adidas, dry wick shirt, jeans, and sneakers. I've seen him in a suit twice. No, a couple times, because we had to go to awards.
Right, you had to go to premieres and award-ship.
Yeah, but basically that is it.
That is amazing.
And we would do things like when he would scout and whatever. I always try to surprise them. Like when they went to scout, nobody went. He went with just Florian, because we wanted to do it to Paris. It was for a 3-day weekend or whatever. And I got him into a restaurant that nobody can get into.
Oh, I love it.
Luckily, I will pull out my stops. For everything. We had part, and I made sure Lauren was appreciated and taken care of, and we brought her to Venice.
Open in Venice?
We'd open to Venice. But then what I was even happier about was Valentino, because I know him, he gave us his boat for the premiere. So it was really fun. So, we got to have this premiere and
Oh,
it's great because the studio was not in control of who was getting on that yacht.
oh my God, I love it. I love you. I
got to literally, it was like, and Meryl and I sat in the back and I was just like, and we were just like literally like drinking champagne with our feet curled under us. On the
That
back.
sounds like the most fun premiere ever. Just you and Meryl getting drunk. It sounds amazing.
Not even, we just like, we're like, oh my God, I can't believe like we're in Valentino's boat.
Wow.
I mean, and Valentino's boat is all white, magnificent, and there's a Warhol of Valentino.
No, stop.
It is amazing. And then Paul Allen's boat came up next to ours and he crashed our party. Said, my boat's bigger, whatever. Like, well, you're here with the movie stars where you wanted to be.
So you invited him on?
He just came on.
Yeah.
We did not invite him on. He just came
I guess
on.
when you have big boats, you kind of just have to like acknowledge that you're all
But
invited.
that was really great.
Where was that? That was in Venice?
Venice, yeah.
Oh my God.
We had the party on the boat.
So wait, go back a little bit because I do want to talk a little bit more about Meryl. I don't think we've done a film yet, have we, with Meryl as one of the stars. Can you talk about her process a little bit?
She stayed in character the entire time. I mean, I must admit, she made it very clear that she makes her choices and she sticks with them.
Okay.
And
like this is what she was going to do. This was her approach.
yes, like she in the beginning, she wanted that gray wig like Carmen.
Yes.
And the studio has some reservations about it.
Right.
She fought for it and she was really right. Her choices are dead on and she stayed in character. And luckily I was one of the, she wouldn't talk to many people because she felt she had to stay in that character.
Sure.
But I'd pick her up sandwiches at, around the corner at EAT and bring them to her every day. And we decided early on, she and I, that we were going to keep stuff for an auction.
Ooh.
And one day she came, come, Wendy, come here. Well, I'm like, what? I'm running over there. She's like, can we keep these eyelashes for the auction? Like, she was just really into that. But she stayed in character, and so much of what she does are just the nuances.
Agree. Last night I was watching that scene where they're doing the run through, and when she's very upset, she'll just be like, why is no one ready? Like she just like, it's so low and just people are freaking out. And she did that throughout the entire movie. And I was just like, it is so
flowers for spring. Brilliant.
Oh, so good. Oh my God. I thought that character was so genius that she created. It was amazing and different. She did her own thing.
She did do her own thing. She had fun doing it, but I don't think I think she had fun dressing him. I don't think necessarily it was a fun part for her to play.
Because it's very contained. I mean, you're, in theory, you're the devil of the film.
Yes, exactly.
And did you feel like the girls, like Annie and Emily, were sort of like closely observing? Were they cueing off of her? Did they have their own thing? I'm always like curious about set dynamics.
We got along very well. I mean, I think that their characters were really well written. They knew what they had to do. The one was transformed and the other one was kind of stayed the same, just like her boss.
I think the thing I love to talk about here and the movies we choose on this podcast are sort of the legacy films, the films that you mentioned and everyone knows what they are, right? They remember them, their legacy, they're great movies for one reason or another. Why do you think this one has sort of sustained in the way that it has? Why is it still a favorite?
I think it's always great when you can make something emotional. I think that everyone can relate to it. I also think that the fashion business is now an international business, not the way that it used to be where it was, you can only get certain things in New York or Paris or London. Everything is instantaneous. Anything that's on a runway anywhere in the world, because that's where they all launch, is immediately visible because of media. And so it's really accessible. The bad boss is accessible.
Yes.
And the young person having their dream, who doesn't dream of moving to New York.
It's like a modern woman's like Cinderella. Andy is thrown into this world and she evolves and she ultimately becomes who she really wants to. But, she puts on all
she
the...
has her first love and then she screws it up and, her first job and the moral lessons that you learn. Everybody can relate to that.
On such a fun stage.
Right.
Okay. Well, Wendy Finerman, you're amazing. You gave us a lot of great stuff. Thank you for doing this, and hopefully you'll do it with me again.
My pleasure. Good luck.
Talk soon.
Thanks.
Bye.
I mean, what if I don't want to live the way you live? Oh, don't be ridiculous, Andrea. Everybody wants this. Everybody wants to be us.
Next thing you know, I got a fax from Miranda Priestley herself, saying that of all the assistants she's ever had, you were by far her biggest disappointment. And if I don't hire you, I am an idiot.
Bex, Wendy Finerman, my new idol. I mean, I feel like every time
Seriously.
we do an episode, I'm like, well, that's the best producer I've ever talked to. But she really like gave us several pearls of wisdom along the way.
Yes, I wrote them down, and we should like frame them and put them in the wall
I really
of our
do
office.
think we
This is
keep
great.
sort of metaphorically talking about writing all these like pearls on a wall, but I actually think we should, because they're so good. And then I loved hearing about the process in general. I loved hearing that Meryl Streep was in character the entire time. I thought her character was so brilliant.
When she said that, I hadn't heard that before about this movie, and this movie is one of my favorites. I'm like you, like if it's ever on TV, I'm watching it. No matter what, if I was going to watch something else, it's just.
I'll roll with this. I'll roll with Legally Blonde. I'll roll with Mean Girls, and I'll roll with the original Top Gun. If those movies are just on like TBS, I'm in for the commercials and everything.
Yeah.
And so, anyways, she's part of that elite group.
She is. But, so I'm so familiar with Meryl's character, right?
Yes.
And like you were saying, all those little things that she did, like the whisper things and the flowers for spring, right? Like all that stuff is brilliant. So to think back and just imagine what she would be like on set in between takes if she were still in character. Like I'm just trying to picture these moments, and it's just really funny.
Totally. It was clear to me that Wendy was like her person, and that they probably spent a lot of time, and Meryl really confided in her and felt comfortable with her. But I could imagine being a PA on the set of Devil Wears Prada and just living in fear of Meryl. So anyways, and I did love the Valentino yacht as the premiere party. I mean, it felt so fitting.
That's such a wonderful story.
Paul Allen rolling up and then being like, yeah, I guess you can.
Well, I also love the story of when she had to grab her assistant and say, hey, pack your bags, we're flying to Paris tonight.
Yes. Yes.
Because a very similar thing happened to me.
That's right, Bex. I was thinking about that. I didn't want to bring it up because we only had precious time with Wendy, but tell your Paris story.
So when we did this movie, Beast of No Nation, with Cary Fukunaga and Idris Elba years ago, and we were submitting it to festivals. And one of the festivals we submitted it to was Cannes.
Yes.
And for some reason, the cut wasn't going to be ready in time for us to ship the DCP overnight to Paris, for it to get there in time for the submission deadline.
Yes.
So I had to fly in person from New York to Paris, holding the DCP in my lap.
This was your first trip to Paris, I presume.
It was my first trip to Paris. I don't speak any French. I went by myself.
Wait, did you? I thought that Max was there with you. Is that not?
So he came later.
Oh my God.
So I initially went solo, and it was a very, very quick decision, kind of like it was for her assistant. It wasn't one day, but it was like 3 days. It was like, hey, who can fly to Paris in 3 days and deliver this DCP? And I was like, I can. I'm free. I'll go to Paris for you. So
no, but Bex, wasn't the thing that they kept delaying the screening, so you had to stay longer than you thought?
Well, so I had
part of
so
it?
what happened was, I get there with the DCP, right? I'm running through the streets of Paris, holding this big, Pelican case, trying to figure out where this submission office is, and not being able to ask anybody because I speak any French. And I finally find it and I submit it, and I'm like, great, I have like 24 hours in Paris by myself. Let me just hang out and explore the city. And I was, and then all of a sudden we get an email that the DCP does not work that I brought.
Right. That's right.
And so Max, who was one of the other producer's assistants on the film, he flew out the next day with a new DCP and met me in Paris. And then I had to wait until they ingested that new DCP and played the movie and then gave it back to us.
That's what happened. And then he took, where did you guys, you went to some club?
Oh, we went to, it wasn't
something horse. It was something Crazy Horse.
Yeah.
Crazy Horse.
Crazy Horse. Yes, it was Crazy Horse.
And that was like the craziest night of your life. You're like, oh my God.
Yes. And I had never seen anything like that. And he was like, this is where we're going right now. And I was like, okay. And I'm so happy that he was there because we had such a fun time exploring the city.
Well, that reminds me of the Beasts of No Nation screening story where Netflix, we had like 15 Academy members in a room. We were hosting at the iPix in LA. And Netflix had given us 2 DCPs to screen in case one did not work, which often happened, and a backup DVD. They still created DVDs back in the day. And they were like, this is not going to be used, but just in case, here's like a third backup. And so we put the DCP on and we're having a drink and we think it's all going well. And my dad, who's there, like co-hosting the thing, comes out and he's like, this movie isn't working. Like, what's going on? So they put in the second DCP and my heart is beating, but I'm like, oh, great. The DCP's going. 10 minutes later, my dad storms out again because he was a former producer. And he's like, what the fuck is wrong with you people? You think this is a Netflix like movie and it's not working. And we have like all these important like Academy members sitting like eating their chicken tenders. And I'm like, this is my worst nightmare. So we put the DVD in. I go into the projection room. I'm like, what the fuck is happening here? And we put the DVD in and it won't work. It won't work. So I take the DVD out. I've heard this like old folklore that like if you lick a DVD, it will work. I lick the DVD, I put it back in, and it works. And it was like maybe the greatest producing moment of my entire career. I was like, I saved Beasts of No Nation. I saved it. And so when Wendy Finerman...
saved it with a lick.
When Wendy Finerman told me that the New York brownstone fell through and she had to beg a friend. I was like, yes, that's good producing. Anyways, enough about that. That has nothing to do with The Devil Wears Prada, but what a great movie. Wendy, we love you so much. We hope you come back. And that's going to be about it. Bex, you do the wrap up.
All right. Well, please remember to like and subscribe to our podcast. You can follow us at Stay Gold Features on Instagram. DM us with any questions, comments, ideas for movies or producers that you want us to interview. And always remember to stay gold.
Stay gold, guys.
That's all.